So recently, I heard about a crazy story that happened in the comics to Captain Marvel, and more people need to know about this. Carol Danvers might be known as Captain Marvel now, but many years ago she held the title of Mrs. Marvel and wore this swimsuit outfit as the hero. She was a part of the Avengers, and to celebrate their 200th issue back then, Marvel decided Mrs. Marvel should get raped. Yep, Marvel said that. They said, let's celebrate by having one of our beloved characters be defiled and impregnated. Everybody loves a good raping, right, guys? Wait, why is no one clapping? You bore me, I'm right. So basically, in this Avengers comic, Carol Danvers is mysteriously impregnated overnight. From here, the story becomes so convoluted and icky. Carol's pregnancy develops at a speedy pace, faster than the second season of Promised Neverland, and she gives birth in about a week. The baby then ages fast and becomes an adult named Marcus. Marcus states that he is the son of Immortus, a villain of the Avengers, and an alternate version of the villain Kang, but that Kang part wasn't established until way later on. Immortus was stuck in a dimension, and in order to escape, he kidnapped Carol and used his techno-babble nonsense machines to make her fall in love with him. He impregnated her so that the child had his spirit so that he can escape from the dimension by being reborn on Earth as a baby. Yeah, I can imagine all the simultaneous eye rolls happening right now. Comics back then could be so stupid. Don't get me started on the Star Fox rape trial and the Sins Past Gwen Stacy story. Ugh. During this time, Marcus had built a machine in the basement of the Avengers mansion. Back then, they didn't have a tower, but they had a very cool mansion with a butler named Jarvis. Even though Marcus was chatting it up with the Avengers and becoming friendly with them, Hawkeye, the only person there who had some sense to him, decided to have some fun and blow up this machine because he was the only one who found it suspicious. For some reason, Marcus needed this machine to hold him in the real world, and now with it destroyed, he had to return to the other dimension since his spirit was the same as Immortus. Suddenly, now Carol wants to go with Marcus, I guess because she felt they had some type of weird connection. I mean, he was technically her son and lover, which is such a weird sentence to even say out loud. Marcus had already admitted to all these heinous crimes to the Avengers themselves, and knowing all this information about her being brainwashed, raped, and forced into birthing her own son/lover, the Avengers cheered them on as they left together. They cheered her on harder than the audience members watching Tobey Maguire return to No Way Home. Some time passes in our world, and a new comic writer comes along and decides to write a new Avengers storyline, where Carol returns from this dimension since Marcus's hyperaging never stopped and he eventually died, which broke his control of Carol. She returned back to Earth. She was pissed, and rightfully so, and called the Avengers out for having rocks for brains and letting her go off with the guy who took advantage of her. Later on, the Avenger writers stated that they chose not to retcon any of this story, changing the rape to somehow not be rape anymore, or even change it to be the Avengers were being mind controlled by Marcus too. The writers stated that it was important to show that heroes can mess up and have horrible results, which I guess makes sense to be a bit realistic, but this would frame the Avengers as being accomplices to rape, which is pretty bad. I mean, like, jail-worthy bad. They could have had their own court trial for this. I mean, think about it like this. If you had a friend and her boyfriend came up to you and said, "Yeah, I inserted myself into Carol last night like a Game Boy cartridge while she was dead asleep. She might or might not be pregnant, but who cares?" And you cheered them on and said, "Why don't you kids go on and have some more fun? As long as those titties are bouncing, who cares? You know what I'm saying? Ha ha ha." You bore me, I'm right. If you did that instead of telling your friend or telling the police and at least work and hope to have that schmuck face justice, I think that would be considered criminal. But I do understand the need to be open about the past and forging a stronger and better future built off of those mistakes. Since then, I don't even think the event has even been referenced at all. I just recently discovered this story, and it's as crazy as it sounds, but not as crazy as Sins Past. You bore me, I'm right. Comics back then could throw shit at the wall, and somehow it would just stick. But yeah, that's all.